In the far reaches of space, beyond the edge of human exploration, Captain Elena Reed stared at the blinking lights of the distant stars outside the observation window of the horizon. The crew had long since lost track of time, as they glided through the empty void in search of nothing more than data and knowledge for the Federation Deep Space Program, when suddenly a soft hum echoed from the communications array, an anomaly so faint that it could have easily been ignored, but the ship's systems flagged it as something of significance, something that didn't belong in the deep silence of space. At first, Captain Reed dismissed it as nothing more than a glitch, but curiosity lingered in her mind. Something about the signal tugged at her, an instinctual feeling that it was too deliberate, too patterned to be random. The signal was faint but growing stronger. With every passing minute, she tapped the console and ordered the crew to focus their efforts on tracing its origin. The signal was encrypted and fragmented in ways that were hard to decode, but not impossible for the crew of the Horizon. It was just a matter of time before they could decrypt it. The crew worked quickly, pulling data from the ship's advanced systems, trying to uncover anything that could explain the signal's source. The encryption was unlike anything they had encountered before, and the closer they got to it, the more unsettling it felt, as though the very fabric of the void was speaking to them. Captain Reed stood in silence for a moment as the team worked rapidly on the signal. She didn't fully understand what they were dealing with, but there was something about it that felt both urgent and alien, almost as if someone was calling out for help from the farthest reaches of space. It had the tone of desperation, but layered with a strange calmness, like a message that had been sent with the hope that someone would answer, no matter how far they had to travel. Elena's instincts told her they couldn't ignore it, not this time, not when something so unique had appeared on their radar. With every second that passed, the signal seemed to grow more precise, more insistent, and though it was a long shot, no one on the crew could shake the feeling that this was not an ordinary distress signal, but one from a civilization that had long since been lost to time, or one that was in immediate danger. The fact that it had come from a region of space never before charted only added to the mystery. A few of the senior officers voiced their concerns as they examined the coordinates. The signal was emanating from a point far beyond any known system, where no ships had ever traveled, no known colonies resided. It was a place of pure emptiness. They could only assume the signal had been sent by something or someone out there in that unknown black expanse. Captain Reed's voice was firm as she made the decision. The Horizon would go there. They would investigate and uncover the truth behind this strange call. She had seen humanity rise to impossible challenges before and believed that no matter what waited for them out there, they had to try. The crew was ready. The mission was clear, and as the Horizon adjusted its course toward the unknown, they all knew that the path ahead would be one of discovery and danger beyond their understanding. Yet they moved forward, driven by the hope that they could make a difference in the face of the endless void. The Horizon surged forward, its engines humming steadily as it ventured into the uncharted expanse of deep space. The stars around them grew distant and unfamiliar in the vast silence that enveloped the ship. There was only the soft pulse of the distress signal guiding them deeper into the unknown. Captain Reed stood at the helm, watching the endless black stretch ahead of them. She had ordered the crew to remain focused, but even she couldn't shake the unease that gnawed at the back of her mind. Each second that passed felt like a step further away from everything they knew, and into something that no one could predict. The crew worked tirelessly in their stations, some at the communications console, others scanning the surrounding space for any signs of danger or anomalies. As they approached the coordinates the signal was coming from, strange phenomena began to manifest. Their sensors began picking up unusual reading, shifts in gravity, subtle but noticeable distortions in the space-time continuum. Nothing too alarming, but enough to make everyone on board cautious. A few experts on the ship suspected that they were approaching a region of space where normal laws of physics didn't always apply. Something about the area seemed to warp reality itself. The distortion was faint, but the crew felt it in the air. An unspoken tension settled throughout the ship. Jeremiah Solis, the ship's lead scientist, was particularly troubled. She had been studying the data with growing concern, and there was a hint of disbelief in her voice as she spoke to Captain Reed. "Captain, the closer we get to the coordinates, the stranger the readings become. It's as if this area of space is Alive in some way, Elena glanced at her worriedly, but nodded, acknowledging Maya's expertise. "We'll take every precaution," she said, her voice firm, though she too could sense something unsettling about the place they were entering. As they neared the coordinates, the distress signal grew louder, more distinct, yet still strangely dissonant, like an unspoken plea from somewhere beyond their reach. Elena ordered a deceleration as they approached what seemed to be the outer boundary of the source, when suddenly the ship's communication system flickered, and a new voice emerged through the static. It was barely audible, but undeniably human. The voice sounded almost like it was trapped in a distant echo reverberating through space, but it was unmistakably a cry for help. "We're not alone," Captain Reed murmured under her breath. As the voice cut through the silence of the ship, it was a chilling realization, but one that filled them with a renewed sense of urgency. The crew scrambled to adjust their systems and pinpoint the origin of the transmission. Their scanners picked up an anomaly ahead, a faint signal emanating from an object hidden within the darkness of the void. But what it was, no one could say at first. It looked like a distortion, a shadow of some kind hanging in the emptiness. Yet as they got closer, the shape began to take form. It was a massive structure, one that appeared to have been constructed in the distant past by an advanced race. The edges of the object shimmered as though it existed in more than one dimension, at once an enormous ancient station, or ship floating in space, and encased in the remains of something far older and far more terrifying than anything the crew had encountered before. The signal had been coming from here, from this relic of a lost age, and it was clear that whatever or whoever had sent the message was desperate to make contact with anyone who could hear it. Elena felt a cold shiver run down her spine as the horizon drew closer to the unknown relic ahead, but there was no turning back now. The decision was made, and they were already too deep into this mystery to back out. The team braced themselves for whatever lay beyond the dark threshold ahead. The horizon drifted cautiously toward the ancient structure, its dark outline now visible against the expanse of stars and empty space. The massive object ahead seemed to pulse with an eerie energy, as if it were alive, its surface reflecting strange ripples that defied normal physics. Captain Elena Reed stood at the helm, her fingers lightly grazing the controls, her gaze fixed on the distant shadow. The ship's crew worked in tense silence, scanning the structure for any signs of activity or danger. Every sensor on the ship was engaged, but nothing could fully explain what they were witnessing. This was no ordinary relic, and it was no ordinary distress signal that had brought them here. "We're close," Elena said, her voice steady but carrying the weight of the unknown. "Prepare for docking. Let's see if we can find out who, or what, sent that message." Lieutenant Harper, the communications officer, nodded sharply. "I'll keep monitoring for any further signals, Captain. The distress call has been static for the last few minutes, but there might still be something we're missing." "Good," Elena responded, turning her attention to the rest of the crew. "Dr. Solis, take your team and prepare to board. I want everyone geared up and ready for anything. We're not sure what we're dealing with." Dr. Maya Solis, the ship's lead scientist, stood from her console, her face filled with a mix of excitement and concern. "This structure appears to be millennia old, Captain. Its technology is beyond anything we've seen, but its design is unlike any known civilization. There's no telling what kind of environment we'll be walking into." "Understood," Elena replied, her voice calm. "We proceed cautiously. We don't know if we're walking into a trap or a tomb." The horizon slowed to a crawl as it aligned with the docking ports of the mysterious structure. The hull creaked slightly as the ship's docking clamps engaged with the ancient rusted station. The crew, now suited up in their exploration gear, gathered in the airlock, ready to step into the unknown. As the outer doors opened, the air was thick with a faint, unfamiliar hum, a vibration that seemed to resonate deep within their bones. There was an unnatural stillness to the place, as if time had long since forgotten this place and everything within it. As the first of the crew members stepped out onto the alien structure's surface, the atmosphere was strange, heavy, metallic, and yet somehow breathable. The gravity was weaker than Earth's, but not impossible to adjust to. The walls of the station were adorned with complex patterns, geometric shapes that glowed faintly, shifting with an almost hypnotic rhythm. Every surface seemed to shimmer as though the station were vibrating with energy, but it was all too quiet, too empty. They were utterly alone. Dr. Solis took out her scanning device, her eyes widening with each new reading. "The technology here, it's incredible," she muttered, almost in awe. "It seems like a blend of organic and mechanical. Living technology, maybe. I've never seen anything like it." As the team ventured deeper into the station, the air grew colder and the hum grew louder, a low, unsettling sound reverberating through the corridors. The architecture was ancient, but the technology embedded within it felt unnervingly advanced. They came across an observation deck, and through a massive viewport, they could see a distant planet, shrouded in the haze of a dying sun. It was barren, desolate, as though no life had ever touched its surface. Then a voice echoed, not through the air, but in their minds, a whisper that filled every corner of their consciousness. "Help us. We are the last." It was a voice that was familiar, yet alien, warped by time and space, and yet human. The crew froze, their hearts pounding as the voice reverberated in the silence of the station. It was as if the message had been waiting for them all along, reaching across the void to find them. Captain Reed's heart raced, but her command voice remained steady. "Keep moving. Stay sharp." They continued forward, deeper into the station's bowels, when they found the source of the voice, an enormous chamber filled with the remains of the alien species. They were humanoid, their bodies frail and twisted, lying dormant in vast stasis pods. Their faces were pale, almost translucent, with large dark eyes staring blankly into nothing. In the center of the chamber stood a lone figure, tall, gaunt, and wearing the remnants of a ceremonial robe. Its eyes opened slowly, its gaze locking onto Captain Reed, as if it had been waiting for them. "Humanity," the figure spoke, its voice raspy and weak, but laced with a strange authority. "You are the ones we called for. You are the last hope." The crew exchanged uneasy glances as the figure continued, its tone growing more urgent. "Only you can save us. Only you can stop them." The air in the room seemed to thicken, the weight of the words settling over them. The truth was clear. This wasn't just an invitation to explore. It was a call for help. And now, they were entangled in something far bigger than they had ever imagined. The figure stood motionless, its dark eyes fixed on Captain Alina Reed, as if it were seeing beyond her, into some unfathomable depth of time and space. The air in the chamber grew colder, and a shiver ran down the spines of the crew members standing behind her. They had come seeking answers, but the truth they now faced was more overwhelming than they had ever imagined. "We are the Ishtari," the figure rasped, its voice carrying a deep resonance that vibrated in the bones of every human present. "We were once the rulers of a galaxy-spanning empire, a civilization of peace and knowledge. But we were betrayed, and now we are all but lost." Captain Reed stepped forward, her boots echoing in the vast silence of the chamber. "Who betrayed you? And how can we help?" she asked, her voice calm yet firm, trying to make sense of the surreal situation they found themselves in. The Ishtari's eyes seemed to grow distant, as if it were reliving some terrible memory. "The Varan," it whispered, a shudder running through its fragile body. "A race of conquerors. Ruthless, cunning. They came to our worlds under the guise of diplomacy, but they were planning our destruction all along. They've wiped out most of my people, scattered the rest to the corners of the galaxy, and now they come for us again." "Why us?" Elena asked, her brow furrowing as she tried to piece together the puzzle. "Why did you call for humanity?" The figure's lips curled into what could have been a faint smile, though it was full of sorrow. "You are different. You are not bound by the same old rules. The Viran underestimate you. They see you as weak, primitive. They have not yet understood what you are capable of." The figure's voice grew softer, almost pleading. "We have seen it. We have seen your strength, your resilience. It is the only hope we have left." The crew exchanged uncertain glances. This was a request they weren't prepared for. They had come to explore, to uncover mysteries of the universe, not to take up arms in a war that spanned generations and galactic systems. But Captain Reed knew what she had to do. The desperate plea in the Ishtari's voice was unmistakable. There was no turning back now. "We'll help," Alina said, her voice firm despite the storm of emotions brewing inside her. "We'll fight." The Ishtari nodded slowly, its ancient face etched with both relief and sadness. "You are wise to accept, but it will not be easy. The Viran are unlike anything you have ever faced. They do not just conquer worlds, they erase them. They are relentless and without mercy. But you, humanity, have a power they do not understand." The chamber seemed to pulse with a strange energy as the figure spoke. "You have a will to survive, a spirit that cannot be crushed. This is what makes you dangerous in their eyes. This is why they fear you." Captain Reed's mind raced. The odds were staggering. Humanity, a species barely out of their cradle in the cosmic scale, was being asked to take on an enemy that had wiped out an entire empire. Yet the conviction in her heart only grew stronger. They had faced insurmountable odds before and survived. This time, they would do the same. "Tell us what we need to do," Alina said, turning back to her crew. "We'll fight with everything we have." The Ishtari motioned toward a control panel in the far corner of the room. As the crew moved toward it, the figure's voice echoed again. "You must find the heart of the Viran. It is the source of their power, the key to their unstoppable force. If you destroy it, their empire will collapse. But the heart is hidden deep within their stronghold, a fortress unlike any you can imagine." Dr. Solis stepped forward, her scientific mind racing with questions. "And how do we get there? How do we destroy it?" The Ishtari's eyes glowed faintly as it looked at her. "You will need to infiltrate their capital. The heart is located in the heart of their empire, guarded by the fiercest warriors and most advanced technology. But you have something they do not. Your adaptability, your cunning, your ability to fight against impossible odds." Alina felt the weight of the words, the enormity of the task before them. Yet, as she looked into the eyes of her crew, she saw the same resolve reflected back at her. They were in this together. Humanity had never backed down from a fight, no matter the size of the enemy. This time, they would face an empire. "Then we'll find it," Captain Reed said with determination. "We'll take the fight to them." The Ishtari nodded, its frail body slumping with exhaustion. "Be careful, humans. The Viran are watching. They always are." With that, the ancient figure fell silent once again, its life force slowly ebbing away. The crew stood still, absorbing the gravity of their mission. It was clear now. The fate of this civilization, and possibly the entire galaxy, rested in their hands. The Horizon's crew was about to embark on a journey into the heart of enemy territory, and the stakes had never been higher. The first step had been taken, and there was no turning back. The galaxy had been at peace, for too long, some would say. After years of Earth's silence, the star systems had begun to function without the looming presence of humanity's vast influence. Factions who once feared Earth's fleet had grown complacent, and newer, more aggressive powers began to stir, sensing the vacuum left by the once dominant planet. Alliances shifted, and borders expanded. A fragile balance of peace seemed to reign, as old enemies turned to more immediate concerns. Then came the challenge. The Phoenix, the warship that had redefined humanity's military might, emerged from the depths of space, flanked by a fleet of the most technologically advanced ships ever built. The unmistakable black hulls glinted under distant stars, casting a long shadow across the galaxy. Humanity had returned, but not as the peaceful nation it once was. This time, The message was clear, delivered in a booming broadcast that shook the core of the galaxy's communication channels. Earth's voice echoed through every world, every station, every capital. It was a single message from the new voice of humanity, Admiral Lyra Voss, commanding the fleet. Looking for battle. Will bring devastation. The words hung in the air like a storm on the horizon, every syllable heavy with a promise of relentless power. The galaxy's leaders froze. They had underestimated Earth's return. They had thought humanity's silence was the end of their fire, the close of their chapter in galactic history. But now, with the Phoenix at the forefront, the galaxy's greatest fear had been reignited. Admiral Voss's fleet was not one born of diplomacy or defense. It was built for annihilation. The ships bore the scars of countless battles, their designs infused with alien technologies that humanity had repurposed and adapted, weapons of unimaginable destruction. The Phoenix itself pulsed with dark energy, a ship capable of decimating entire fleets in moments, its singular cannon able to tear apart the strongest shields in the galaxy. The Phoenix was humanity's rebirth, and a terrifying reminder of what they could do when pushed too far. The leaders of the Galactic Council, once so sure of their control, now trembled at the reality of Earth's newfound resolve. Earth wasn't here to negotiate. They weren't here to seek alliances or broker peace. They were here to deliver a warning, a challenge to anyone who thought they could test humanity's strength. We have seen the horrors of war. We have endured betrayal, loss, and fear. But no more. Our world was violated. Our people pushed to the brink. We have rebuilt. And now, we will not bow. If you seek battle, you will have it. But know this, we will bring devastation upon those who think they can match us. The broadcast flickered off, and the tension was palpable. The Phoenix and its fleet held position at the galactic crossroads, where the most powerful factions convened. With Earth's arrival, the balance had shattered. No longer could the galaxy ignore humanity's capacity for destruction. Factions began to whisper in dark corners. Diplomats scrambled to make sense of the situation, sending emissaries to Earth's fleet in a desperate bid for negotiation. But it was clear, Earth had already made its choice. They had no interest in peace. Their challenge was simple. The galaxy would either submit to humanity's will or face the terrifying consequences. In the wake of Earth's declaration, the galaxy held its breath. The question was no longer whether the galaxy could unite against humanity's might. The question was, who would stand against them? For the first time in centuries, the cosmos felt the weight of humanity's power. And it was a weight that threatened to crush anything in its path. The horizon cut through the vast emptiness of space, its engines roaring with a new, amplified power as it hurtled toward the heart of the Viron Empire. The ship was a hive of activity, every crew member working tirelessly to ensure that the ship was prepared for the impending confrontation. The weapons systems, enhanced with the HFY technology, hummed with untapped potential, and the enhanced shields glowed with an ominous energy as they surrounded the ship like a protective shell. Still, there was no way to predict what awaited them at the heart of the Viron stronghold. Captain Alina Reed paced the bridge, her eyes fixed on the ever-approaching destination on the view screen. The Viron homeworld loomed in the distance, a vast, dark planet surrounded by a web of defensive satellites and enormous battle stations. The planet itself was a testament to the Viron's might, scarred, industrial, and heavily fortified. Its atmosphere was choked with pollutants and smog, a toxic reminder of the Empire's ruthless nature. Alina's mind raced, weighing their options. They had to be careful. One misstep could mean the end of their mission and the end of humanity's chance to stop the Viron. Captain, Maya Solis's voice interrupted her thoughts. We've finished analyzing the Viron defenses. There are multiple layers to their shield network, and it's protected by several large battle cruisers. Getting through will be a challenge, but not impossible. With the upgrades we've made to the Horizon, we have a fighting chance. Elena nodded, though her stomach churned with uncertainty. What's our plan of attack? We'll need to engage their outer defenses first. Maya continued, her voice steady. Once we breach the first layer of shields, we can use our stealth systems to avoid detection by their larger forces. That's our window to get closer to their planet and infiltrate the stronghold. Sounds risky, Elena muttered. But we don't have a choice. We don't, Maya agreed. The Varan will be waiting for us, but we got one advantage. They don't know the full extent of what we've acquired. We can surprise them. Elena felt the weight of the situation settle over her again. The Eshtari had warned them. These were the Varan, the ones who had destroyed entire civilizations without mercy. But Elena knew what the crew was capable of. She trusted them, and that was enough. All right, she said, turning to the crew. You know your roles. Get ready for a fight. As the Horizon continued its approach, the tension was palpable. Each crew member was lost in their thoughts, their minds sharpened by the fear and determination that surged through them. They were about to face an enemy unlike anything they had ever known, an enemy that had already wiped out the Eshtari and countless other species. But they also knew that if they failed, the galaxy would fall to the Varan's unrelenting expansion. The battle ahead would be brutal, and there was no way to predict what would happen once they engaged the Varan's formidable defenses. But they had come too far to turn back now. We're entering the first layer of the Varan's defenses. Atlas, the ship's AI, announced. Expect heavy resistance within the next few minutes. Shielding at 95% efficiency. The first blast hit like a thunderclap, reverberating through the horizon as the ship shuddered from the impact. The bridge crew steadied themselves, and Elena gripped the armrests of her seat, her eyes locked on the view screen as more Varan warships appeared from the shadows, their enormous forms gliding through space like predators closing in on their prey. Brace for impact, Elena shouted. The ship's weapons came alive, firing bursts of energy as the crew launched their first salvo at the incoming ships. The shields flared as they absorbed the brunt of the enemy fire, but the Horizon remained intact, hurtling forward into the heart of the enemy's territory. The battle was now in full swing. Shields at 80%. Atlas reported, its calm voice belying the chaos unfolding around them. Enemy forces closing in. We'll need to take out their cruisers to proceed. Target the largest cruiser first, Elena commanded, her voice sharp and commanding. Let's make them regret underestimating humanity. The crew of the Horizon sprang into action, the ship lurching with each strike. Weapons fire filled the air, and the Varan ships retaliated with devastating precision. But the Horizon was faster, more agile, and more unpredictable than they had anticipated. The enhanced weapons and new shield technology allowed them to outmaneuver the Varan, striking back with a force that sent shockwaves through the enemy ranks. We're breaking through, Maya shouted as the first layer of defenses collapsed, leaving a path open for the ship to advance. We've got a clear shot to the planet's surface, Captain. We just need to stay ahead of their reinforcements. Let's move, Elena said, her eyes alight with determination. We can't waste this chance. The Horizon surged forward, a tiny speck in the face of the overwhelming Varan fleet, but its crew had a fire in their hearts, a fire that would carry them to the heart of the Varan Empire, no matter the cost. They would finish what they had started. They would not fail. The Horizon plunged deeper into the heart of the Varan Empire, its engines roaring as it sped past the remnants of the Varan's defenses. The enemy warships were beginning to regroup, but the crew had already done what they came to do: punch a hole in the impenetrable fortress surrounding their target. Now, with the hardest part behind them, Captain Elena Reed set her eyes on the planet below, her heart heavy with anticipation. Captain, Maya Solis said, breaking the tense silence. We've breached their outer defenses, but we're about to enter the most dangerous part of the mission. The Varan capital is heavily fortified, and the heart is likely within one of their deepest strongholds. We'll need to disable their planetary shield before we can land. Alina's voice remained steady, though her mind raced. How much time do we have before they realize what we've done? Not long, Maya replied. Their sensors will have detected the breach by now. Expect reinforcements soon. We'll need to disable their planetary shields first, or we'll never get close enough to the heart. Understood. Let's move fast, Alina ordered, and the crew sprang into action. The battle wasn't over. As the horizon descended toward the dark, industrial surface of the Veron capital, enemy ships began swarming in from all directions, hoping to cut them off before they could do any more damage. The battle outside the ship intensified, but Alina knew they had to push forward. Time was against them. Their chances of success were slim, but humanity had never been one to back down from an impossible fight. "We've got incoming," shouted Lieutenant Harper, the communications officer. "Veron warships are moving in to intercept. We can't hold them off for long." Alina's mind worked quickly. "Harper, I need you to jam their targeting systems. Maya, prepare the boarding team. We're going in." The crew scrambled, working in perfect unison as the horizon accelerated toward the planetary shield generator located deep within the heart of the Veron capital. The once imposing city below now appeared like a vast network of metal, smog, and towering fortresses, a place that had known only conquest and violence for eons. It was a place built for war, and it had no intention of yielding. As the horizon descended, the planet's defenses began to retaliate, launching volleys of anti-air missiles. The ship jerked violently as they impacted, but the new shields held, glowing bright and flickering with each hit. "Shields at 60%, Atlas," the ship's AI reported calmly. "We're approaching the planetary shield generator. Prepare for a bumpy ride." "We've made it this far," Alina muttered, her eyes narrowing. "We can make it through this." Suddenly, the ship rocked harder than before as a massive explosion erupted nearby, shaking the entire vessel. Alina gritted her teeth, steadying herself as the alarms blared. "Status report," she barked. "We're taking heavy fire from a Veron destroyer," Harper said. "It's locking onto us with a high-powered weapon. We're going to lose shields soon if we don't do something. Brace for impact," Alina ordered, grabbing the armrests of her seat. The horizon buckled as a massive burst of energy slammed into their shields, sending shockwaves through the ship. The warning lights flashed, and the hum of the engines sputtered as the ship fought to remain intact. "We can't keep dodging them forever," Maya said, her face tense as she worked with the team to prepare for the next phase. "We'll need to disable their planetary shield quickly, or we'll be sitting ducks." Alina took a deep breath, her mind calculating their next move. "Harper, get us a clear shot at the shield generator. I want to hit it with everything we've got." "Maya, get the boarding team ready. We're going to infiltrate their stronghold." As the horizon flew closer to the massive structure that housed the planetary shield generator, Alina knew they were running out of time. Their shields were weakening with every second. The Veron destroyer was closing in, relentless in its pursuit. "Hold on," Alina shouted as she gripped the controls, guiding the ship into a steep dive toward the planetary shield generator. The destroyer fired again, and this time the horizon's shields flickered dangerously before failing completely. The ship's hull groaned under the pressure, but they were too close now to turn back. Maya looked up from her station, her face etched with worry. "The shields are down. We have to move fast before the entire fleet arrives." "Target the generator," Alina barked, her eyes fixed on the viewscreen as the shield generator loomed larger. With one decisive motion, she launched everything the horizon had left at the heart of the Veron defense system. A barrage of energy blasts erupted from the ship's cannons, and the planetary shield generator erupted in a burst of light, sending shockwaves rippling through the sky. "Direct hit," Atlas reported. "Planetary shield disabled. You have a clear path to the stronghold." The crew exhaled collectively, but there was no time to celebrate. They had made it this far, But the hardest part was still ahead. The Viron forces would be on them any moment, and their mission was far from complete. The horizon had cleared the way, but now they had to infiltrate the stronghold, destroy the heart, and stop the Viron from completing their reign of terror. Alina gripped the controls tightly, her mind focused entirely on the task ahead. Prepare for the final phase. We're going in. The horizon sped toward the Viron stronghold, now vulnerable with their planetary shield disabled, but the true challenge lay ahead. The fortress loomed, an imposing structure that stretched upward like a jagged spike piercing the smog-choked sky. The sheer size and fortifications of the stronghold were overwhelming, its walls thick and reinforced with layers of energy barriers. Yet Alina knew they had no choice but to press forward. Approaching the stronghold, Atlas announced, its voice calm but filled with the urgency of the moment. The Viron will be fully aware of our presence. Expect heavy resistance once we enter the atmosphere. Understood, Alina replied, her voice unwavering. Harper, get us a safe landing zone. Maya, prepare your team. We're going to make this quick. Maya nodded from her station, her face tight with concentration. We've decoded the structural blueprints of the stronghold, but the heart is located deep within the inner sanctum. The path to it is heavily guarded. We'll need to move fast and hit them where it hurts. The ship began to shake as the horizon entered the turbulent atmosphere of the Viron capital. Anti-aircraft fire erupted from below, swarming the ship with lasers and explosive shells. The crew braced for impact as the ship dipped and swerved, narrowly avoiding some of the incoming blasts. The horizon's new, upgraded shields held strong against the barrage, but Alina knew they couldn't last forever. Shield integrity at 40%, Atlas reported coolly. We must reach the stronghold before they overwhelm us. The sky had been clear that morning, the sun rising over the horizon, casting a warm glow over the earth. Everything seemed peaceful, the air crisp and fresh. The world was going about its usual business, when without warning a presence was felt in the skies, a ripple in the atmosphere that seemed to spread out from the edges of the planet, like an invisible hand brushing against the fabric of the world. Humans were unaware of the threat looming on the other side of the solar system, but in an instant everything would change. The first signs came when satellites picked up unusual readings, massive energy surges in space. The data was sent to observatories across the world, and soon it became clear something was coming, something big. The scientists didn't know what they were looking at, but the patterns were unmistakable. Something was entering the solar system at a speed no human craft could match. Humanity had always looked to the stars with a sense of wonder, but now it felt like those stars were staring back, like they had always been watching. And now they were finally coming for Earth. The first alien vessel emerged from the depths of space. It was massive, a ship so large it could block out the sun if it hovered over a city, and then more followed after it, each one of them far beyond anything the human race had ever conceived of. The ships were sleek and dark, their forms like jagged silhouettes against the blackness of space. They appeared without warning, just as silently as they arrived, as if the very universe itself was holding its breath. The news was quick to spread, a cold chill creeping across the globe. The first signs of panic emerged as people looked up at the sky. With dread, the governments of the world scrambled into action. Emergency meetings took place in every major city. The UN convened in an attempt to coordinate a response, but no one had a plan. No one had ever prepared for this. The aliens didn't communicate at first. They didn't need to. Their presence alone was enough to send a message. Their ships lingered at the edge of the atmosphere, as if waiting for humanity to react. But there was no mistake in their silence. They were waiting for the world to make its first move. But what could Earth do against such overwhelming might? No country on Earth could boast a fleet capable of even scratching the surface of one of those ships. The military leaders had no choice but to watch as the ships took their position above the planet, their powerful weapons silently scanning everything below. It was then that they made their move. A single message from the alien ships. The transmission came across every device on Earth, broadcasted across every television screen and radio. They demanded Earth's immediate surrender, or they would destroy everything in their path. The message was simple but terrifying in its clarity. The alien voice was cold, mechanical, devoid of emotion, but there was no mistaking its intent. Humanity had been given an ultimatum, one choice: to submit or face utter annihilation. The response came quickly, but it wasn't from the leaders of the world. It came from a woman, Derlina Strauss, an unassuming scientist who had been quietly working on advanced defense technologies for years. She spoke out publicly to the world with a bold statement. The aliens had made one grave mistake: they had underestimated humanity, and she would prove it.